Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name is Savannah Harinkyu if you're new here. And if you're not new here, thank you for coming back. Today, we're going to be talking about severe weather. Now, you might have heard that there is a chance for severe weather and some even tornadoes today across Alabama, particularly this afternoon in Alabama. So I thought we would look at some of our forecasts. Our weather reporter, Lee Morgan, has been doing a great job keeping everybody updated on that forecast, keeping an updated forecast on our website as well. We're going to leave a link here so that you can see it and you can continue to check that throughout the day. There are also some graphics here that I'm going to share with you that she also has in that story. So if I move through them too quickly, you can also see them in Lee's reporting that we're going to leave here. So let's just jump into it. Let's look at some of the forecasts for today and what we're looking at. So again, we're talking about a risk of severe weather possible across Alabama today. That's according to the National Weather Service. Not only could there be some severe thunderstorms, hail is also possible, along with some brief tornadoes. Now, again, those brief tornadoes are possible because wind is going to be a big deal in this storm system. Again, wind is going to be one of the main threats today in the storm system. This is a look overall at the outlook today for severe weather. I'm going to take off this banner here at the bottom of the screen, so you can see the full state. You can see the legend on the side. If you cannot read that, that means essentially that the yellow portion of the state is what we call a slight risk. That is a level 2 out of 5. And that means that scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible throughout that area of the state. As you can see, a big swatch of the state here is covered in that yellow, meaning that slight risk. There is part of the state, particularly that eastern part of the state here, is covered in green. That is a level 1 out of 5 risk. That is a marginal risk. So the green is a step down from the yellow. Now, the marginal risk means that isolated severe storms will be possible. Biggest difference there between the two is the green, that level 1 risk, calls for isolated severe storms, while the yellow, the slight risk, calls for scattered severe storms. So slightly bigger risk there in that medium part of the state, or that yellow part of the state. And as you can see, that is a big swatch of the state today, covering a lot of area. Now, that green is primarily South Alabama, towards the beaches, and then also the eastern side of the state there. Again, wind is going to be one of the big threats today across Alabama in this storm system. The strongest storms could have some wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour, according to the National Weather Service and to NOAA. And again, that could bring some tornadoes, especially in the western part of Alabama. You can see here towards Mississippi, again, that is all covered in that yellow, that slight risk part of the state. That is where we are looking for some of these, the most severe weather there, the most severe wind. I'm looking at some of your comments coming in. Somebody's saying it's already gloomy and windy in Muscle Shoals. It's already getting windy here in Birmingham, and that is something we are expecting. We have already seen wind pick up across the state. Wind will likely start picking up even more after lunch. Looking at a question here about what time is the storm system coming? When is it expected to leave? Let's go ahead and jump right into the timing, because I know that's something that's very important for people, especially people who've got to get on the road, got to get to and from work, pick up children from school and things of that nature. Here is that timing. Somebody said they want to look at the time frame for Central Alabama specifically. The timing here is about 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. for Central Alabama. Stefan, I know you say you have to go 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, about that timing for Central Alabama. Now, this is just a little fraction of the state that we're looking here in this graphic, but you can see those lines. They continue up and down. So if you have a picture of the state in your mind, you can take those dotted lines and just run them down the state. So let's first look at the western side of the state. These storms are coming in eastward, meaning that they are coming in, they are moving eastward, they're coming in from Mississippi. So those storms are expected to enter Alabama into that part of the state right there. You can see Hamilton there. We can see Tuscaloosa, Demopolis, just that vertical sliver of the state between noon and 5 p.m. So they are getting this round of storms first, again, about noon to 5 p.m. So just right after lunch, the storms are expected to roll in. Move a little bit more east into that, again, we're looking vertical, that vertical sliver of the state. That timing is expected from about 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. That is the mid-afternoon, early evening portion of this storm system. And then again, as you continue to move east, we're getting into the 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. So the nighttime hours, early evening into the nighttime hours for this storm system. Now, again, these storms are supposed to be out of the state by Wednesday. And again, it's going to bring some cooler air on Thursday and Friday to Alabama. So, might need to get out those jackets. I know it's been very unseasonably warm recently here in Alabama, but this system could bring in some of that cooler weather. Now you can see again on the left side here of this graphic, this is where those colors become important that we just looked at on the other map. Again, with the yellow being the slight risk, green being that marginal risk. So slightly less high of a risk there. There is the timing. Again, we are specifically looking at wind here. So you might already have wind picking up in your area of Alabama. Let's move on here to a little bit more of a look at North Alabama. Now, this is particularly that line where the slight and the marginal risks meet. As you can see right here, that is towards East Alabama. You can see it's a little bit east of Gunnersville, a little bit east of Huntsville, and just slightly west of Scottsboro. I know these town names are very small, hard to see here. These graphics are included in the forecast that we're going to link here so that you can zoom in on those. You can get the town names and get a little bit more information. But this map right here shows North Alabama, again, where that slight risk and the marginal risk meet. Again, this is the line of the thunderstorms that could bring some very high winds, up to 60 miles an hour winds. And that brings along with it the possibility for a brief tornado and even some hail as well. So that's really what you need to watch out for today. We know a lot of people have Halloween and fall decorations out. I know a lot of people have those inflatables out in their yard. Might be time to bring those inside, give them a rest for today, or at least uninflate, deflate some of those inflatables. You do not want your 8-foot tall ghost leaving your yard and traveling down the street because of this wind. We also don't want it to hurt anybody, hit any cars, or obstruct anybody's view while they're driving. Let's go ahead and deflate those, get them inside or get them out of the way so they do not blow off. Again, this wind could be really high. So if those decorations also are not staked in the yard very well, could pull them out as well. Looking here again at some of the comments here, I'm going to quickly go through the county names for this wind advisory so you'll know kind of the timing, at least on the wind advisory specifically. So for North Alabama, we're going to post this in the comments as well, so you don't have to write this down if you don't want to. North Alabama, that wind advisory is from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m., and that is today, Tuesday, for these counties. And these are all in North Alabama: Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, Lawrence, Limestone, Madison, Morgan, Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb, and Coleman counties. Again, that's 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. wind advisory. So move down to Central Alabama. That wind advisory is from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So kind of the same time frame, coming in a little bit later. So Central Alabama, you're already feeling some of these winds, but they will likely get worse throughout the day, throughout lunchtime. And those counties are Marion, Lamar, Fayette, Winston, Walker, Pickens, and Tuscaloosa counties. That is the portion of these counties, again, in Central Alabama that are under a wind advisory from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. So moving down, we've also got a 1 p.m. until 9 p.m. wind advisory. So a little bit later, think early afternoon into late afternoon, early evening. Those counties are Blount, Etowah, Calhoun, Cherokee, Cleburne, Jefferson, Shelby, St. Clair, Talladega, Clay, Randolph, Bibb, Chilton, and Coosa counties. So again, that is slightly later in the day for that wind advisory. That is from 1 p.m. until 9 p.m. for that wind advisory. Now, the storm could reach the Alabama-Mississippi border here in just about 30 minutes, about noon, and work its way across the state. So that leaves, again, I'll bring up that timing map, that leaves part of the state, particularly the most eastern vertical sliver of the state, getting this last. Again, they are also in that marginal risk. So these storms should weaken as they move across Alabama, but that puts them in the later evening hours for this storm. 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. is the best timing. Now, something I will say is these graphics were at last updated. You can see at the top about 3 a.m., so 3 o'clock this morning. There should be some updated graphics coming out here in just a few minutes. Our weather reporter Lee is probably already working on those to post them and update this forecast. So they might have a slightly better idea of the timing here because the hours are inching closer again to when those storms hit. So timing might be a little bit better, but these are the graphics that we had when we started this video. So that is what we are working with here. Again, wind is going to be your big deal here. We're looking at, for most of the state, a level 2 out of 5, which is also a slight risk, meaning scattered severe thunderstorms are possible, along with maybe a brief tornado and some damaging winds and some hail as well. There's also part of the state that is just in that number 1 marginal risk. That's 1 out of 5. And that means isolated severe storms are possible. Again, might be time to give your Thanksgiving, or excuse me, Halloween and your fall decorations a break today, especially any of those inflatables. Go ahead and deflate them because this wind could bring some gusts into your yard and you don't want to lose your decorations. And even worse, you don't want them to hurt or anybody else or obstruct anybody else's view as well. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today to your forecast. Again, our own Lee Morgan is going to be keeping up with this forecast, updating her story. You can find all of that at AL.com/weather. Again, that's AL.com/weather. And we will leave this information in a link in this comment thread as well. Thank you for watching. Everybody stay safe and we will see you next time.